Everyone, thanks for tuning in. This is Eddie Campos with Remax Preferred Associates, and this is Coffee with Eddie. And my very special guest today is Dr. Romules Durant with CPS Schools, Toledo Public School. Dr. Durant, how are you?
I am doing great. Obviously, the best you can get during a season of a pandemic, but we're all high in spirit, and today's the first day for our K to 2. So, those kids are excited to be there, and there's nothing funnier than to looking because they really love their mask. I don't know something about, it's funny to see it, and they're so small and tiny. It's just a great time. So,
well, we've got a lot to discuss. I've got tons of notes, so I'm going to be referring back to my notes here frequently. So I'm going to hit on a couple things real quick. Green, yellow, red, students' A and B schedules. What does that all mean?
You know what? What we wanted to do is have a strategic plan in a way that we can adapt to whatever the social environmental factors are happening with the pandemic. So in essence, that we wanted to be able to give a color code that the families and parents could understand in the event that for whatever reason you have a spike and, the virus is spreading at a wide range, or, you were in a situation where it's very controlled, very contained, and we just need to take some precaution and what those things look like. So green means everyone's coming back 5 days a week, normal. We're taking obviously precautions, but at the same time, it looks traditional, but at the same time, traditional with precaution. Yellow with the hybrid model, which you just spoke to in about A and B week, means that what you're doing is taking a classroom of 20, and you're breaking them in half on different days. So if half of that class is on A day, they're attending school on Monday and Thursday. The other half is B day, which is Thursday and Friday. And only half that class is going to be in the classroom at that particular time on their day, which allows us to social distance them within that classroom. So you're taking the precautions within that. So a school of 400 is only going to have 200 kids in there at one point in time, at any point in time. And so it allows us to be able to do that by splitting them in half. But more importantly, the teachers are able to have more intense instruction because you have a smaller class size. And then obviously red is what we started the school year off, which is remote, meaning that these kids will now learn remote, which is Google Classroom, Google Meet, which they had started the year off. And on Wednesdays of the hybrid model, they will still do Google Classroom just as well. So they stay in the rhythm and understanding as well as practice of doing remote. Because at any point in time, we're seeing a second wave. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know what it looks like with the flu season. So at the end of the day, when we give a color, we're able to know, parents are able to respond to the plan, knowing what that may be and what it looks like and such forth. And we always provide a video to help support your understanding of that.
So when they're doing Google Classroom, is this a separate virtual teaching or teacher, or is it directly from that teacher of their class?
Good question. So these teachers report to their classroom, and they're teaching from their classroom to satelliting out into the home. So they're going to all meet no different than Zoom. Google Classroom is the same. And so you have, just as you would see in Zoom, 20 students reporting to the access code, and the teacher is just conducting and carrying out through the course of study right there from their laptop, their video camera stream. So teachers are able to do that within essence, and then at the same time be able to narrow down an isolation conversation. They're able to put kids in Google Hangout in essence of downtime so they can have some sense of socialization. But at the end of the day, it's pretty much happening from the classroom, and it allows us to be able to help in the event that you have technology issues.
That's fantastic. So, and I'm going to try to keep things rolling because I know you're a very busy man. So things like lunchtime, sanitation or sanitizing stations, school buses, how are those things working?
You know what? So again, the plan is just going to clockwork. One of the things that you're going to find is that contact tracing is very essential. Contact tracing is a difference from 60 kids being quarantined and 5 kids being quarantined. So let me give you an example. If Johnny is riding a bus on Monday and you don't know what seat he sat on, and Friday comes and the school finds out that Johnny's father is positive, Johnny now has to be contact traced. But if you don't know where Johnny sat on the bus, you don't know where Johnny sat in the cafeteria, you have a good idea maybe in the classroom. So for example, one school, because that situation did happen, they had to quarantine the whole bus because they didn't know where he sat on those given days. So it's a matter of knowing that Johnny sat here. It's these students who sat around Johnny that need to be quarantined within a certain amount of days designated by the CDCs. So the same way with the cafeteria. Spread them out. Again, There's sections that have broken down into A and B. So if it's the A week, you know where you're sitting. B days, you know where you're sitting. But at the same time, the social distance aspect is in there, and every child has their assigned seat that we know. So when Johnny's in the cafeteria, we know exactly who sat around Johnny. So in one particular school district, they had to quarantine the whole table, 2 tables, because they weren't sure where the child sat. So the whole thing is we're contact tracing, meaning we know where any child on any given day, where they sat and where they should be seated. So we have a good sense of what those tracing looks like. And that's what it looks like all throughout the day, in the classroom, on the bus, in the cafeteria, as well as they walk through the hallways, one direction forward, one direction backwards. At the same time, we have stopping points that allows kids to be able to know what 6 feet apart is as they go through the hallways.
Sure. So how does this pertain to athletics? I know athletics started back for you guys. How does this relate to the athletics?
You know what? Athletics, again, it's one of those fine points, you know, and as we sit and work with the CDCs, in essence, that at some point in time, you're going to violate the 6 feet rule based on particularly football. But the main thing is that kids, again, on the sidelines are expected to be socially distanced, meaning they're spread apart on the sideline, as well as your band, as well as your cheerleaders, as well as in the seating area. So you literally can only have 50% occupancy within your arena. So that means, one, parents get priority, and then at the same time, you got to provide for your seating for all those support positions such as cheerleaders, et cetera, and as well as all those who are attending. So you literally have to have a good sense of who will be there, as well as controlling the numbers. But at the same time, you know, within the event itself, you know, there has to be a lot of discipline, in essence, that's provided by the coaches, particularly with sideline control. Now, on the field, they're able to execute as normal. But when they come off the field, they have to put the mask back on, as well as remain 6 feet apart, which can be somewhat of a challenge. But again, within athletics, there's a certain level of discipline that comes with the sport. At the same time, the same discipline applies to how you behave in the event that you're on the sideline.
Sure. So let me ask you this. I know that many school districts, meal plans are an essential part of what they do. No different at TPS. How did that get handled over the summertime, and how is that being handled now?
Well, you know, one of the things is we were very strategic in essence of, one, our Wi-Fi connection, utilizing buses to be able to provide Wi-Fi within areas. And we did the same with food. So when students weren't in the building, meaning right now, when they were remote, as well as over during the springtime, as well as the summer, what we did was we had grab and go. So what we had parents give us reserve numbers, so we could provide food at our commissary, and then we put those food and satellite them out to the various locations, letting parents know what time pickup can happen. And parents came in, it just went like clockwork. Food service workers did a great job. They had the bags, they had number accounts, and when you came up, you gave your card and said, "This is what I ordered." Grab, and parents were moving onwards. Well, that's the same that's going to happen now that we have the hybrid model. It's not going to be a grab and go model, because in the hybrid model, we separated the days for a reason. There's a reason why A is Monday and Thursday and B is Tuesday and Friday, because that means only 2 days you have to go, that we have to make sure that you take food home with you. So a child who attends school on Monday and Thursday, when they leave Monday, they go home with Tuesday and Wednesday meal. A child who comes in on Tuesday, they go home with Wednesday and Thursday meal and return back on Friday. So they have meals within that. And then we work with Connecting Kids to Meals, which is a phenomenal agency, and they help with our weekend meals as well as our evening meals for these students. So it's been a collaborative approach in essence of agencies, but at the same time being very strategic, because we have well over 85% free and reduced in essence of providing meals to individuals. And we want to make sure that the services they would get in a school during a school day continue to happen, whether you're remote or in the building.
Thanks for everything you're doing for all of us and for the kids of TPS schools. Thanks for spending this time with me. I truly appreciate it.